Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about the reasons for participating in the whole initiative, some of the eSense requirements, the testing framework that we put together, some of the testing requirements, some of the challenges, and the conclusion. Okay. Okay. The reasons for participating in eSense, well, we found it to be a unique opportunity for participating and contributing to the Single Digital Market Initiative in the European region. The FMS AS4 product and team have participated in several interops, including participating with the OASIS standards group on AS4. We've participated in Drummond testing, we've participated in SuperStream, and the eSense initiative builds on these initiatives. Okay. eSense also ensures the continued development and enhancement of both skills and the product on our side. We've had to make a couple of changes, a couple of improvements, all for the benefit of being able to communicate reliably and securely in the eSense environment. Okay, and of course eSense compliance is a requirement for AS4 products. Okay, some of the eSense requirements I'll quickly go through. We have one of the things that's above the standard AS4 is two-way message exchange. Some of the participants that will be also involved in this initiative may have to build that into their systems. We have to implement dynamic lookup for eSense as well. That is not something that was tested. Payloads are separate SWA conformant attachments, including compression, signing, and encryption of the attachments. Some of the security enhancements, we are using some of the latest algorithms in terms of encryption. Okay, I can try and switch on my camera. Try and see what I can do on that.
Can you hear us as well, Tia? Or is that too much to hope? Dare to dream.
Sorry, guys. Just a little bit slow. I'm trying to switch on my camera, but there we go.
Can you hear us as well, Tia? No. You took that very personally. I won't say anything in the future.
Can you see the application?
We do, yeah. Tio, can you hear us as well? Can you hear us and or see us? Can you see us?
You can see us on the stream.
He doesn't hear.
Okay. Can you see my application?
No, sir, we can't. We cannot see your application. We can see your face.
Fantastic. Okay. Let me enter the slideshow again.
But, sorry, sir, do you hear us? Can you hear us?
Okay, as I mentioned, some of the eSense requirements include two-way push and push, and that is achieved by just setting the ref to message ID on the return leg. Okay, another of the eSense requirements is dynamic lookup using SMP, SML. This is not something that we tested in the eSense performance testing initiative, but has been tested in some interoperability exercises. Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, as mentioned previously, payloads are separate SWA conformant attachments which need to be compressed and signed and encrypted. And some of the encryption algorithms are some of the latest encryption algorithms, and that added to some of the technical difficulty on our side. One can achieve this using one of two ways that I'm aware of, and that is to upgrade to Java 8 or to use the Bouncy Castle libraries. In our case, we needed to upgrade to Java 8 to make use of the latest encryption requirements. Another one of the challenges that we had is that our libraries needed to be upgraded to handle these new algorithms and key encryption methods. One of the other eSense requirements is synchronous signed non-repudiation signals. We've tested that in other environments and that was all working, and of course synchronous error signals. And then what eSense also requires is ping. That also resulted in a little bit of a challenge on our side, because for eSense they expect a receipt back when you ping, okay, and that is something that we had to build in. I'll move to the next slide. Okay, this is really the framework that we put together. Okay, as you can see, we operated with Minder being the outer corners and the Flame FMS server being the inner corners. For initial test setup, what we did is we set up exactly the same thing, but we used our own system for the outer corners so that we could test offline first of all, and that proved to be very useful. Once we had the testing working, what we did is we changed the endpoints to go to the Kirkovi intermediary, and effectively what the Kirkovi intermediary does is it massages the messages for the various tests and passes them on from the one inner corner to the other inner corner, and then of course expecting appropriate results back to the outer corner or back via Kirkovi to the inner corner as an error message. So that really is the framework. Also on the Minder website, you will find various or a good set of documentation describing this whole procedure. Okay, some of the eSense testing requirements, as I mentioned previously, it's a four-corner model. The tests are on the inner corners, C2 and C3, which is our gateway. Okay, just looking at a message that was sent to me. Okay, just one of the things that in terms of this testing, AS4 is used in communication from from the outer corners to the inner corners. So that makes it really useful. It's a single AS4 interface across the board. The AS4 submit messages that we receive from Minder include conversation ID, message ID, service, action, to and from party IDs and roles, test assertion IDs, original sender and final recipients, okay, and all those details come in message properties. Our message properties is another thing that we never tested in previous interoperability testing, so other vendors may need to take note of that message properties is a definite requirement for this testing. Okay, and of course, one of the other things that we needed to do is to ensure that we sent notifications from the inner corners back to the outer corners dependent on the results of the inner corner message exchange. So you will need to build in some logic for that, for this whole test. Okay, some of the challenges, there were a total of 40 tests, 18 eSense specific tests, of which 17 are mandatory and 1 preferred. and 22 AS4 specific tests, of which 19 are mandatory and 3 preferred. Okay, as I mentioned just now, it's not a simple case of P-mode configuration. It requires a significant amount of intelligence on receiving the message, in constructing appropriate messages to exchange between the inner corners, and of course to send notifications to the outer corners. Of course, you also need to ensure that you have support for a non-AS4 required two-way push and push exchange pattern. Some of the other things that came up, which are really AS4 optional and or recommended features, which we haven't previously tested, which includes the following. As mentioned, message properties is very important because the whole testing environment is dependent on that. Also, eSense communication corners from the outer corner to the far corner also requires message properties. Another thing that we hadn't tested previously is the use of part info, part properties, the character set, attribute, and so you will need to build in some intelligence as far as that is concerned. I have to say thanks to Sander for providing the regular expression for doing that test. Okay, another one of the things that we hadn't tested in the past was some of the additional error features. For example, you receive a compressed message and then you decompress the message, but if the decompression fails, you need to respond with an appropriate EBMS error message. And then, as mentioned previously, the ping tests needed to be implemented as well. With that, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, some of the conclusions. We spent a significant amount of time and, of course, costs on participating and building up the whole test environment and interfacing to the Minder Kekovi testing systems that they have over there. I have to say a special thanks to Mohammed and to the people at Tubitak for all the support that they provided. It was really excellent. Additional testing requirements over and above previous interop testing, as mentioned previously, there was some additional work that was required on our side, both on the server and on the configuration, to ensure that we could comply. Okay, of course, this exercise is very valuable in the continued improvement both of the products and in terms of our expertise in, for AS4, for eSense. So yes, we found it very, very valuable. And then, of course, one of the nice things about this is that you end up working with a team of international experts on eSense and AS4, and that only goes, that helps a huge amount in terms of improving our product range. So thanks very much to all the guys that I have been working with. And that's it from our side, guys. Thank you very much. And if there's any questions, I hope to hear from you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm somewhat skeptical if that will be the case. Thank you, Theo, and I trust everyone here to relay that we did thank him for the presentation, and hopefully we can get him involved for the short Q&A. I'll therefore ask our next presenter to come up. I gave Theo an extra few minutes given the technical problems that we had. So I would ask our colleagues from IBM to come up if they're here. Yeah. If you come up to the podium. So we have Mr. Jorn Rizvang and David Dixon from IBM. And I'll just pass the floor straight over to you in the interest of time.
Can you hear? Is that okay? Oh. All right, I'm Dave Hickson with IBM, and I'll talk to you about our experience. I worked, together with Theo, who you just saw, and also Sander, who will be going after me, I assume. going through the interop and conformance testing and everything. And what I prepared here is 5 minutes, I think I was given, to summarize our 1 year together. So we'll get right to it. First, why did we, I guess, participate in this? Well, you know, IBM is a global service provider. We provide software services, solutions, operating systems, hardware, everything in all of the world's geographic areas, and Europe is one of the most important geographic areas to us. And CEF is about building sustainable infrastructures, and IBM is a good corporate citizen, and we see an obligation to participate in the efforts that are important to Europe. And we, of course, also see business opportunities in this, so we're trying to get in on the ground floor and hopefully get business out of it. And we want to contribute to the success of CEF and to the benefit of both citizens and the companies in Europe. And then finally, IBM has, this is right up our alley. IBM has mature B2B products. I'm in the B2B area at IBM. I've been there for 28 years now, I think, in B2B and EDI and Swift and ISO and data transformation and, of course, AS2 and AS4, So SFTP, HTTP, we do all the business protocol transformation, data transformation, and everything around B2B. That's a huge area for us. And we wish to extend that to the AS4 because we've done a lot of protocols, so we do B2B with SFTP and we do it with HTTP and AS2, and there are various problems, particularly in today's world, and AS4 we see as the answer to many of those problems. I think it's very well thought through. It is an excellent basis on which we can build new networks with unprecedented security and reliability. So we really like AS4, and in today's world security is extremely important. So we would like to promote the use of it, and we would like to be one of the primary vendors out there delivering technology that allows you to take use of it, or to make use of it, sorry. Okay, for the fundamental challenges that we encountered. Number one, so I'm speaking to any other vendors that might go through this. Drummond certification means nothing. We were a little surprised when we got into this because we're a Drummond certified AS4 that anyone would even want us to demonstrate interoperability because we thought that's what Drummond did. But Drummond does not do that, so you're going to have to do it all over again. And to the Commission, I would say you might consider working with Drummond or something so that perhaps vendors, at the same time they do the Drummond AS4, they could do their interop with you. That might make it a little bit easier on us, okay? And the next thing I would say to any vendors that are coming in trying to do this, interoperability, you should understand that's just one part, the interop. The rest of it is conformance, okay? Well, actually, there's even more. So there's conformance, which is not interoperability. The eSens group has taken the AS4 specification, and they've really created a profile of that specifically for eSens. And that narrows down the representation, and it adds new constraints onto what elements can appear and what elements cannot, cardinality of certain elements, and conformance testing will then verify that you adhere specifically to their profile of AS4. So you have the eSens profile of AS4, and of course AS4 is a profile on EBMS. But so conformance testing, so interoperability and conformance testing are very different, understand that. And what conformance testing is doing is ensuring that their particular subset of AS4 you support, and that requires additional effort on top of just supporting the AS4 specification. And also eSens expects the latest and greatest technology, so make sure you keep up with the AS4 standard changes, and AS4 is an RFC, and they don't actually update the RFC. There's addendum and errata and everything, so you have to stay on top of those to understand what changes are being made to the AS4 specification, because you will be expected to be on top of it. They have a PIM who, and I think Sandra, they actually have members that are on the AS4 technical committee, and so they know exactly what the latest and greatest and all the changes that have been made, and they'll expect you to be on top of it as well. And in addition to the conformance test, or the interoperability and the conformance test, you will likely also be asked to participate in some business testing. So we're also involved in piloting the e-invoicing and the e-tendering pilots, and they have connect-a-thons where different countries are sending messages back and forth through the gateways. So your access point and your gateway would likely be expected to also do some testing in that regard. And then they're also concerned with file size, so they have large file testing. So in addition to specific message sets, or they want to demonstrate that they can send their particular message sets from corner 1 to corner 4, all the way from the actual participants through the network, they'll also want to demonstrate that you can do that with large files like 2 gigabyte files and such. So there's a lot of testing. It's not just like a drum and interopt. There's conformance, and there's large file, and there's piloting. So expect to be involved in a lot of different testing. Then as far as what are the most important lessons that we learned? Okay, well, expect to be told that you're going to have non-conformance issues. Like I said, if you pass Drummond and you think that, okay, you're going to be able to pass anything that eSense throws at you, it's very different. Like I said, sometimes it's a matter of interpretation. Like if one example was when they send stuff as a attachment, then they believe the SOAP body element should be empty, and we actually don't have any data in the SOAP body element. But we did have some security segments and such, and we produced a SOAP body. And from a conformance perspective, they would say, oh, that's wrong. Okay, so in some cases, it's an interpretation difference. So you'll have to deal with those. So expect to actually have to make some code changes to code that actually works and is interoperable. Then the best way to get this done is with an open and a collaborative approach. And you will need to network as much as possible. That's the only way to get this thing done in a reasonable amount of time. You need to get to know the experts. So you need the Minder experts and Kirkovai. You need to know the AS4 experts, PIM and Sonder, when you have any sort of question about that. And you'll need to know the experts on well, you need to actually know the other people that are in the test that you're dealing with. So if there are alumni, like other companies that have been through it, if possible, you'll want to network with them, and other companies that are actually going through the tests at the same time are an excellent resource. I know that Sonder and Theo and I depended on each other or helped each other a lot through the test. I'd be asking them, did you get this particular error, and what happened, and such. So the only way to effectively do it is with good networking. And to the Commission, I would say you should facilitate that as much as possible. So when people are in the test, make sure everyone knows, the Skype addresses and WhatsApp and what methods they want to communicate with, email addresses. And so that participants come on, they know who the experts are, how to get a hold of them, and that the experts agree that they will answer the questions to allow the vendors to get through this as quickly and easily as possible. And then if you're going to have questions, okay, the first thing to do, of course, is to consult the documentation. And I think the Tubatak people, Mohammed and Milas, they've done an excellent job, I think, with the Minder. And then, of course, PIM's done a great job documenting the AS4 profile. But you're still going to have questions. And perhaps a comment to the Commission, it might be nice if somehow all this could be tied together and so new, and make sure, or maybe package it up so that any new vendors that come on, they actually know, exactly where to go to find out where all the documentation is. Okay. I would probably make a recommendation towards that. Let's see then. So the first thing you do is you're going to look at the document. The second thing is phone a friend, okay? Get on Skype, get on WhatsApp, go to the experts, go to, any alumni, go to another company that you're working with and ask the question there. That's usually the fastest way to get anything resolved. if you can't get it resolved there, then ask the audience. There is something called Basecamp, and with Basecamp you will be able to post messages on a forum, and there, all the key players will be listening there. So it's a good way to actually get out. That's not going to be as fast as pinging somebody, and in addition to that, there are many, there might be, 50 or 60 people that are subscribed to that, so your message is going to go to a lot of people. So understand that when you're posting information out there. But, that's probably your next step, is to go to Basecamp and post a query out there, and then hopefully you'll get an answer there. And the fourth is to figure out yourself. And my whole point there was, I put that last. I said, don't spin your wheels and try to figure things out, or spend days trying to figure things out. I mean, go to the people who know and network with them. But in the end, I suppose you have to figure it out yourself. Another thing that's really important, I think, is to take advantage of the workshops. And to the Commission, I would say schedule workshops. So if you have vendors going through, then schedule some workshops at where they can all come together. I would say have like runs. So we're going to do a conformance configuration run, and the period is going to be from here to there, and there's going to be workshops in there that will help you with, and the experts will be there. And if you have the opportunity to go to a workshop, then by all means, I think you make far more progress when you're right in the room with the experts, and they can look over your shoulder, they can look at the code, and they can look at your log messages and help you with stuff, and you can help other people and get stuff done. And there's stuff like SML and SMP. That's a technology you have to understand in a workshop. You'll have the experts who actually wrote the code there, and they have their systems. They can immediately send messages to you and look at whatever logged messages and help you through it. So definitely take advantage of workshops. And one of the challenges I suppose we had was that the people that were doing this weren't necessarily we're commercial vendors, and we have other things to do, and we weren't necessarily dedicated at the same time. So if it's possible, I recommend if you have like a short run, so we're going to do a conformance test from this date to that date, and keep it short so that commercial vendors don't have to dedicate somebody for 6 months to do this, right? So we can shorten it down and then get everybody focused and getting through it quickly and in that one period. Then you won't have the problem where we did it over like a 1-year period, and then I know certainly for me at times I got drawn off on other projects. IBM had other things that they wanted me to do, so I'd be pulled off. Then I have to come back, and then I have to figure out where was I, and then maybe Sandra and Theo had gotten ahead of me, and then they were already passed. So it's best if everybody kind of works through it at the same time. So if you can keep the period short and focused, then I think it's easier for vendors to actually complete it and do it more efficiently. And then finally, I'd recommend to you, commercial entities, if you have a thorough plan with clear goals and management commitment, it's easier to get this done. And I know that's more difficult in the commercial world because, certainly at IBM, what's the bottom line? They're always asking, what customers, what's the potential market for this going to be? And so it's best to, if you can take care of all of that up front, get the justification to get this done, and said for a period of time, and you have it committed, then you'll have I think a much more successful effort. And so, then for questions, I don't know if anyone has any questions about.
What I would suggest is we have the next presentation in the interest of timekeeping, and then we can take questions on this all together. At the end, I think would be best. So, Sander, if you want to come up, and if you'd introduce yourself briefly before you begin. Concerning Ask the Audience, we also have the wonderful Ceph Digital single web portal with its collaborative elements going live next month, which John Marker will be presenting after the break. Sander, I give it to you.
Yeah, it's this one. Okay, thank you, Thomas. I'll try to keep it quite short. I think a lot has been said by Theo and by David, so I can go through this quite quickly. But let me first introduce myself. I think most people know me already, but I'm working for Chasquis Consulting. We created the open source solution Holodeck B2B. And what we also do is provide support around that solution, and we also provide hosted gateways. And that's one of the reasons also for being actively involved in these projects and in testing conformance, because we want to give support on conformant solutions. So we want to know how to make that holodeck product conformant to the eSense profile. So that's our main reason why we want to participate. And we're also heavily involved in the current eSense pilots, which are using holodeck as their gateway solution. So holodeck is an open source AS4 implementation. It's built very modular, it's really about AS4 messaging, and if you want something else like SMP, SML, or any other kind of dynamic configuration, you can build it as extensions to the core product. So it's really a core AS4 product, and then you build your extension on top of it, and that's one of our businesses. What we do is build extensions for specific domains. Currently it does already support all the major profiles here in Europe, like the eSense profile, NSOC and SE profiles. And it's a Java-based solution, so it will run on almost any platform. As long as there is a Java virtual machine, it will run. So it's quite flexible. This shows how it's built up. Like I said, we have a core engine which does the AS4 messaging, and then above that we provide an API, an interface layer, and using that API you can build your own extensions, or we can build your extensions like we did for SMP SML. So I won't go into details about this architecture further. I think eSense conformance testing, it's a conformance test of the eSense profile, which is just AS4 without a pull feature, but with two-way and modern encryption algorithms. So that's basically what are then the challenges to get through the conformance test. The test itself consists of 40 test assertions, which doesn't sound much, but can give you a lot of trouble for some people, especially in the 18 specific requirements to eSense. There are some details that can take a lot of time to resolve. Like explained before, the conformance test is executed using the Minder testbed. So it's built by Tubitak, and it really drives all the components. So if you have two holodeck instances, the Minder will send messages to the instances, and it will also intercept all the messages that go between the services handlers. So it can check whether everything is conformant to the specification. And what we did together with Mohammed is design a interface between Minder and the message service handlers that also uses AS4, because what does an AS4 product already know? That's AS4. So what we decided is that it's good to have an AS4 interface between the test platform and the products as well. And like the others explained, it gives you some challenges. So when there is that message from the Minder tool, you need to translate it into a real AS4 message. So what we did using that modular architecture, we built an AS4 backend connector, so it could accept those messages from Kirkovi and translate them into normal AS4 messages, which then were also sent through Kirkovi to the other holodeck, and then that one uses the connector again to report back to Minder what it received. So that's how it's set up. Okay, and what we experienced is that it took quite some time, mainly because everything was in development. Also, the Kirkovi layer was still in some late development and test phase, so we had some issues there. But it was really nice working with Tubitak to solve everything, and it took time, but it was a pleasure to work with all the people in this project, also with David and Theo. The test really helped to also improve our product. We found some things we wouldn't have found this quick if we hadn't participated in this test, so that really provided us a lot of input as well. Yeah, of course, maybe the most important, we completed the test successfully. We did not do 2 optional test assertions because we think it's better to implement it differently, and they are somewhat beyond the AS4 specification, so we think it's better to handle them differently. And 2 things I would like to remark is, if you do the conformance testing, it's only conformance of your own product, but it doesn't guarantee you anything about interoperability. You can have 2 conformant products, which was shown when we tested again in the tobacco reporting project where we tested against another conformance solution, and in first instance it didn't work because we just need to make some configuration adjustments. Conformance doesn't say that's interoperable, so you need to keep interoperability testing in your environment available. And last but not least, and I think it was mentioned before, eDelivery is not only AS4, it has much more building blocks, so you have to take care of that as well. So that are my main conclusions, so, to keep it very short and to get some time back.
Thank you very much for being so concise in that presentation. So what I would recommend, if there's any questions to the presenters, we can take a few minutes to take those. I don't think we have Theo with us, so he asked me to let you know that you can contact him bilaterally if you have any direct questions. So to either of our two presenters or anyone else on this topic on the round table, are there any questions from the floor, from the vendors? Any questions from the floor? Yes, please, Pim.
Well, it's more a response to one of the comments about Drummond Group. I've indeed heard from other companies that are doing Drummond testing, also actually at this moment, that they are, they would like Drummond to also add all these additional features in their tests, so that they were assuming Drummond would be one-stop shopping for all of AS4. And since they're now seeing that Drummond does not test all the features of all AS4 users, more vendors have asked to basically, they're contacting Drummond to add these tests, but also, for eSense, for instance, to help Drummond add these tests to their current testing. So that's definitely, I've been in touch with Drummond on that a bit, but there's no decision on their side yet, as far as I know.
Very much, Sander.
Yeah, I think it can be good if Drummond offers a test that is similar to this one, and maybe that you, when you pass such a Drummond test, that it's also equivalent to passing an eSense test. But I would really prefer that there is also still a CEF test, because assuming that it's more reasonably priced, the Drummond test is extremely expensive. Certainly if you're a small vendor, and certainly if you're providing open source. So I would really recommend to have your own test. And there is a big difference between conformance and interop. Drummond is an interop test and not a conformance test, so I should take care of that as well.
Thank you very much, Sander. Do we have any more questions or comments from the floor before I hand over to Martin? Going once, going twice, voila.
There's just one thing I wanted to add that Sander just forgot to mention, which is that he is the chairman of the OASIS Standardization Commission for EBMS, which might be good to know.
Before we move on, are there any other vendors in the room who would like to make an intervention at this point? We will have also at the end, yes please.
Yeah, there's just one question from here. Who's a vendor in this room? And what are your plans related to the eSense profile? And can you maybe introduce yourself? I'm just curious, out of curiosity.
Yeah, my name is Michael Merz. I'm here for Ponton. We are located in Germany, in Hamburg, and we provide EBXML, EBMS2 systems, usually for users in the energy sector, and we have also switched to supporting AS4 because the European Gas Network Code requires using AS4 by grid operators and also by shippers and energy traders in this sector now and in the future. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm here because of the relevance of AS4 as far as the sector is concerned. And as we have implemented already AS4, I'm trying to figure out if it makes sense to use the testbed.
Others who wanted to introduce themselves?
Actually, I would like to mention something. We are also broadcasting this. We are also broadcasting this presentation. So I know that other companies, such as maybe RSS Bus from the United States, or potentially other NSOC, let's say, companies involved in NSOC, would be following this presentation online because they would prefer this over coming to Brussels. But of course they don't have a voice now, so if they're there, hello, and we welcome you.
I know that Pedro is
Hi,
there
Martin.
from Linkar. Maybe you can...
Hello. Don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, there's still...
Can you hear us? Yeah.
Yes, it's Theo Kramer over here. I can finally hear what you guys are saying. If there's any questions that are targeted to me, please fire away. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Theo.
Hello. Hi, I am representing Linkare. Linkare is a Java firm that specializes, is a Java development firm it has cooperated with eSense, for instance, for a long time, and we helped the Portuguese National Modernization Agency with the integration of their middleware in their own systems, and so we are here in CEF also looking for funding opportunities for other jobs that we may do for the national government. Thank you.
Thank you. Carsten.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a remark, because I got some text messages from colleagues who are still stuck in the traffic jam around Brussels, that you can send or a link when the presentations are available, or what is available, because they think they will not make it before the end of the meeting.
Okay, thanks a lot. Indeed, all the presentations, everything will be made available and distributed to everyone in this room, but also everyone who expressed an interest in attending, and made available on our website and promoted after. Huub, they want to hear from you.
A short introduction of myself. I am Huub Mulker from the Netherlands. I work at the Ministry of Justice. Have been a participant in the eCodex project and eSense. And with one of the products not presented here today, we've succeeded in being interoperable on the profile with the Domibus implementation. We would have liked to have more vendors in either one of the products to show that also, but so far we've had good experiences. I can state some of the comments made by the presenters, that issues are there, but they seem to be doable. And my reason for being here is mainly for soaking up the information and experiences exchanged here today.